Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Fireside History Stories. Tonight, I'm absolutely delighted you've joined me by our digital hearth. There's truly nothing quite like the magic of a story told by a crackling campfire under a starry night, or nestled by a warm, glowing fireplace on a quiet evening. That special kind of peace, that gentle calm, it just melts away the day's stresses and perfectly sets the stage for a truly deep, peaceful sleep. Before we drift off into the quiet corners of the past, if you're enjoying these tranquil journeys, please consider subscribing to our channel and giving this video a like. It helps us bring more calming tales from history to you. Also, I'd genuinely love to know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is for you right now. Don't hesitate to leave a comment below and share. Seeing our diverse community gathered here is always such a joy. But for now, let's allow the anxieties of the modern world to simply fade away. Tonight, we're embarking on a journey to the heart of a medieval castle, not in a time of siege or triumph, but during the quiet, contemplative hours of a long, cold night. Prepare to surrender your mind to the ancient rhythms of stone, fire, and shadow as we let the subtle whispers of the past guide you to a profound and peaceful slumber. This is not a tale of battles, won or lost, but of the gentle turning of time within ancient walls. The sun had long set behind the sprawling forested lands of Western Europe. The sky, slowly shedding the last pale hues of violet and gray from the day, had deepened into a velvety black. A faint crescent moon hung distinctly in the star-strewn heavens, casting a silvery sheen upon the hard stone of the castle. In the distance, save for the periodic calls of nocturnal animals, the countryside had fallen into a profound silence. The wind whispered gently through the branches of ancient oaks, carrying away the last remnants of the day. The majestic medieval castle now stood before us, stark and imposing in the quiet of the night. Its thick stone walls, smoothed by centuries of wear, had witnessed 1,000 storms, 1,000 seasons, and the fleeting affairs of humankind. From the outside, the castle seemed motionless, like a sculpture, as if time itself had paused at its ramparts. A few faint pinpricks of light, barely visible through the castle's high windows, hinted at the last whispers of life within. The flickering gleam of a single candle, the warm orange of a fire rising from a hearth, all were the silent breaths of a structure surrendering to the embrace of the night. Inside the castle, the day's bustle had long ceased. The clanking of knights' armor, the hurried footsteps of servants, the clatter of pots and pans from the kitchen, all had now fallen silent. The great hall, once filled with the noisy chatter and laughter of midday meals, was now disturbed only by the occasional soft crackle of a dying log in the vast fireplace. The embers within the hearth glowed faintly, as if whispering the day's stories, slowly, ever so slowly. The air carried a faint scent of soot and dried wood, a quiet memory of times past. Along the long corridors, the cold stone floors were devoid of footsteps, filled only by the night's own whispers. Moonlight filtered through the high, arched windows, painting long, dancing shadows upon the flagstone floor. These shadows moved like silent specters, bearing witness to the castle's long and intricate history. Every stone had seen countless events, the decrees of kings, the whispered secrets of queens, the playful games of children. But now, these ancient monuments rested in the embrace of night, entrusting their stories to the silence. The castle's inhabitants, each in their own chambers, had surrendered to the peace of the night. Lords and ladies rested in their carved wooden beds behind thick velvet curtains. Servants, in their smaller rooms or upon straw pallets, had fallen into a deep slumber, the day's weariness melting away. For everyone, this night was an escape from the day's toils and anxieties. The soft arms of sleep had embraced all souls, carrying them to the quiet realm of dreams. From the highest turret atop the castle's highest point, the solitary sentry stood in quiet vigil. The faint rustle of his armor was barely audible in the crisp, icy air. His eyes were lost in the darkness that spread over the sleeping countryside. Aside from the distant howl of a wolf or the call of an owl, nothing disturbed this profound silence. The sentry seemed to be listening, not so much to observe his surroundings, but to the night's own rhythm, the whisper of the wind, the silent turning of the stars. As the night deepened, the last lights within the castle slowly faded one by one. Candles melted down, torches smoldered, and only absolute darkness remained. This darkness was not frightening. Rather, it was inviting and profoundly peaceful. All the details of the day, all its concerns, had now dissolved into this embrace of darkness. Everything was simple. Everything was still. Let this silence wash over your mind. Let the tranquil rhythm of this ancient castle fill your soul with peace. Allow all your thoughts to gently dissipate, like the moonlight slowly seeping through the castle walls, until they vanish entirely. Chapter 2. The Castle's Heartbeat, Kitchen and Chapel's Serenity. Deep within the castle, the kitchen, once one of the busiest hubs of daytime activity, now lay steeped in its own profound silence. The massive stone hearths had cooled, their colossal cauldrons empty and polished. A faint scent of spices and roasted meats, remnants of the day's last meal, still hung in the air, a fleeting memory of a past feast. The long wooden tables, cleared of the afternoon's hurried preparations, presented a smooth, untouched surface. Copper pots and pans, hanging from their hooks on the walls, reflected the faint glimmer of moonlight, each seemingly whispering its own silent story. The only discernible sound was the gentle, almost imperceptible settling of the timbers, a deep, resonant sigh from the very structure of the ancient building as it embraced the night. Everything in the kitchen was meticulously in its place. Knives sheathed, breadboards wiped clean, spice jars neatly aligned on their shelves. This order stood in stark contrast to the day's chaos, emphasizing the profound peace that night had brought. This once boisterous area was now filled only with its own echoes, a quiet hum that resonated with the castle's ancient heartbeat. Even a mouse, seemingly hesitant to disturb this deep quiet, refrained from venturing out of its hiding place, its tiny squeaks held in abeyance by the overwhelming stillness. Only the barely discernible scent of dampness, rising from the ancient stone walls, served as a gentle reminder of time's passage and the persistent presence of the castle's foundational stones, absorbing and exhaling the very essence of centuries. The cool air, still carrying a hint of smoke from the vanished fires, drifted gently through the vast space, touching every surface with its silent breath. From the kitchen, our silent journey leads us to the heart of the castle's spiritual life, the chapel. This sacred space, even during the light of day, was a sanctuary of peace and tranquility. But in the depths of night, this feeling deepened, becoming almost palpable. Moonlight, filtered through the high, arched, stained glass windows, cast elongated, colored patches of light onto the ancient stone floor, painting ethereal patterns that shifted with the moon's slow ascent. The faint, faded images of saints and holy figures on the walls seemed even more mysterious in the dim light, their silent gazes fixed on an unseen realm. The air carried the lingering, subtle scent of old incense and extinguished candles, weaving a tapestry of spiritual serenity. Inside the chapel, the rows of wooden pews stood empty and still. The fervent prayers and harmonious hymns that had filled the space during the day had long since ceased, leaving behind only a quiet reverence. The massive stone pillars, standing firm for centuries, had listened to countless whispered hopes, confessions, and heartfelt pleas. Now, they stood as silent guardians of untold stories, holding the sacred quiet within their ancient embrace. The very stones seemed to hum with a low, inaudible resonance, a gentle vibration that spoke of timeless devotion and unwavering faith. The cool, still air moved imperceptibly, carrying the ghosts of prayers past, a comforting presence that settled softly on the soul. Each shadow that stretched from the pillars seemed to lengthen and deepen, embracing the profound stillness of the hour. The silence here was not merely the absence of sound. It was a palpable presence in itself, a deep, resonant quiet that invited contemplation and rest, a quiet that had absorbed centuries of whispered prayers and silent hopes. No hurried footsteps disturbed the hallowed ground, no rustling garments broke the spell. Only the soft, steady glow of the moonbeams, slowly traversing the flagstone floor, marked the passage of time. One could imagine a solitary monk, perhaps, from ages past, kneeling in one of the pews, his breath so soft it blended with the very stillness of the night, his mind surrendered to the gentle rhythm of contemplation. The air, heavy with the weight of centuries of devotion, seemed to press gently yet comfortably on the senses, urging a profound sense of peace. It was a space where the veil between the present and the distant past felt remarkably thin, a place where history wasn't just remembered, but felt, breathed, and almost heard in the profound quietude. Part 3. Whispers from the archives and the hidden passages. Beyond the sacred tranquility of the chapel, deeper into the castle's ancient heart, lay the scriptorium and the castle archives. Here, during the day, scribes might have meticulously copied texts, their quills scratching softly against parchment. Now, these rooms were cloaked in an even deeper silence, a silence of untold stories and forgotten knowledge. The scent of aged parchment, dried ink, and dust hung heavy in the cool, still air, a library of memories waiting patiently for the dawn. Wooden tables, once burdened with heavy tomes and scattered inkwells, stood empty, their surfaces smooth and cool to the touch. Moonlight, struggling to penetrate the thick, narrow windows, cast only faint, ethereal slivers of light onto the stacks of rolls and scrolls, illuminating fragments of forgotten narratives. Each scroll held a secret, a chronicle of a world long gone, waiting for a gentle hand to unroll it. One might wonder what secrets lay within those tightly bound parchments. A knight's oath of fealty, a lady's tender poem, a detailed account of a harvest, or perhaps a map to a hidden treasure. But tonight, their contents were safe in the quiet embrace of the darkness, their tales locked away in slumber. Beyond the scriptorium, a narrow, unassuming doorway led to a lesser-known part of the castle, the hidden passages. These secret routes, built for stealth and escape, snaked through the very core of the castle walls, known only to a select few. Here, the air was even colder, damper, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient stone and undisturbed soil. No moonlight could pierce this realm. Absolute darkness reigned, broken only by the occasional, almost imperceptible trickle of water somewhere deep within the stone. One might imagine the hushed footsteps of a messenger delivering a secret communique, or a noble slipping away unnoticed. But tonight, these passages were entirely empty, their purpose dormant. The silence within them was unique, a compressed, absolute quiet, as if the thick walls absorbed every last whisper of sound. It was a silence that carried the lingering echoes of desperate, hurried breaths, or the soft swish of heavy cloaks against rough stone, though none were present now. This was the castle's silent bloodstream, pulsating with forgotten journeys, waiting, always waiting, for a purpose that would break its profound slumber. The weight of the castle above, the earth below, and the endless stone all around created an almost physical sensation of stillness. The air, stale and heavy, seemed to press gently against the skin, urging a deeper sense of calm. One could truly feel lost here, not in a fearful way, but in a timeless, detached sense, becoming one with the ancient, unmoving structure. It was in these hidden places that the castle truly seemed to breathe its oldest breaths, its secrets held tight within its stony chest. Part 4. The courtyard's vast emptiness and the tower's watch. Emerging from the labyrinthine hidden passages, one would find themselves in the vast open expanse of the main courtyard. During the day, this space would echo with the clamor of training knights, the chatter of merchants, and the laughter of children. Now it was utterly still, bathed in the cool, pale light of the moon. The cobbled ground, usually worn smooth by countless footsteps, lay undisturbed, reflecting the sky like a dark, polished mirror. The air here was crisper, colder, carrying the faint, clean scent of frost and stone, a stark contrast to the enclosed air of the castle's interior. The silence in the courtyard was different from that within the walls. It was an expansive silence, stretching out to the very edges of the formidable outer walls and upward to the vast, star-dusted sky. One could almost hear the stars twinkling in the cold, clear air. The shadows cast by the surrounding buildings were long and deep, painting abstract patterns across the ground. A lone flag, hanging limply from its pole high above, was completely still, its fabric unstirred by even the slightest breeze, a symbol of the castle's deep slumber. Standing in the center of this quiet expanse, one might feel the immense weight of the centuries that had unfolded within these very walls. Imaginations might conjure images of grand tournaments held under bright banners or solemn declarations made before assembled throngs. Yet all that remained now was the quiet testimony of the stone, the enduring presence of history, whispering only to the listening ear of the night. The stillness was so profound that even a distant drop of water falling from a battlement, landing on the cobbles with a soft plink, might resonate for a long moment before being reabsorbed by the overwhelming quiet. Beyond the silent courtyard, our gaze drifts upwards, towards the tallest and most formidable of the castle's structures, the main watchtower. From its dizzying height, the entire surrounding countryside lay spread out like a vast, sleeping tapestry. Even at night, its presence was a subtle assertion of power, a silent sentinel watching over the slumbering lands. No light emanated from its highest windows. The interior was as dark and still as the deepest cavern. The air around the tower was thin and crisp, carrying the faintest whispers of the wind from the highest reaches. One could almost hear the silent turn of the celestial sphere as the stars slowly arced across the sky. Up here, the sounds of the distant world below, the faint rustle of leaves in the woods, the barely audible murmur of a distant stream, were muted to an almost imperceptible hum, blending into the background of universal quiet. It was a place of profound solitude, where the vastness of the night sky felt intimately close, and the concerns of the earthly realm felt wonderfully, blessedly far away. This tower, a silent giant, had stood through countless nights, witnessing the passage of comets, the waxing and waning of moons, and the steady march of constellations across the firmament. Its stones, cold and unyielding, held within them the memory of every vigil kept, every distant fire spotted, every dawn greeted. Now, in this deep hour of night, it simply rested, a silent guardian in a sleeping world, waiting patiently for the sun to rise once more. The enduring nature of the stone, its quiet strength, seemed to offer a profound sense of security and peace to all who might contemplate its silent vigil. Part 5. The chill of the dungeons and the calm of the gardens. From the airy heights of the watchtower, our silent journey now takes us downwards, deep into the very foundations of the castle, to a place rarely visited and almost always cloaked in darkness, the dungeons. Here the air was markedly different, colder, heavier, carrying the distinct scent of damp earth, stagnant water, and the faint ancient smell of forgotten stone. No moonlight could ever penetrate this far. The darkness was absolute, a profound void undisturbed by even the faintest glimmer. The silence in the dungeons was unlike any other in the castle. It was a dense, suffocating quiet, as if the very air refused to move, holding its breath in the deepest recesses of the earth. One could almost feel the immense weight of the castle above, pressing down, adding to the stillness. The rough, unhewn stone walls felt cold and unyielding to the touch, their surfaces slick with perpetual dampness. Somewhere, deep within the unseen corners, a single, solitary drop of water might fall with a soft, rhythmic plop, echoing faintly in the profound quiet, before being swallowed by the overwhelming stillness. One might imagine the desperate whispers of forgotten prisoners, the clanking of unseen chains, or the soft shuffling of feet in straw. But tonight, these chambers were entirely empty, their grim purpose long dormant. The silence was absolute, a testament to the passage of centuries, to lives lived and stories ended within these very walls. It was a place of profound solitude, where time seemed not just to slow, but to stop entirely, leaving only the endless, heavy quiet. The air, thick and still, seemed to absorb all sound, leaving only a deep, almost ancient hum that resonated with the very heart of the earth. Moving away from the chilling embrace of the dungeons, our path now leads us upwards, and then outwards, into a stark contrast, the castle gardens. Even in the dead of night, these carefully cultivated grounds held a different kind of peace. Here, the air was crisp and fresh, carrying the subtle scents of night-blooming flowers, damp earth, and the lingering fragrance of herbs. The moon, now higher in the sky, cast long, silvery shadows across the manicured pathways and intricate flower beds. The silence in the gardens was an open, breathing quiet. It was punctuated by the gentle rustle of leaves stirred by an imperceptible breeze, or the soft, distant chirping of a cricket. The ornate fountains, silent during the day, now offered a continuous, soothing murmur of gently flowing water, their soft splashes creating a rhythmic lullaby. One could imagine the quiet contemplation of a lord or lady strolling here in solitude, their worries momentarily eased by the tranquility of nature. The neatly trimmed hedges stood motionless, like green sentinels guarding the pathways. The rose bushes, their thorns softened by shadow, held their blooms in silent repose, their colors muted to shades of gray and silver under the moonlight. Every stone bench, every statue, every carefully placed urn seemed to bask in the quiet serenity, a testament to order and beauty amidst the wildness of the world. It was a place where beauty and peace converged, inviting the soul to rest and find solace in the night's embrace. The cool dew on the leaves, the soft, dark earth beneath, all contributed to a profound sense of calm, a gentle invitation to let go and simply be. Part 6. Echoes in the grand staircase and the empty barracks. Leaving the cool, fragrant air of the gardens, our silent journey now turns towards the heart of the castle's verticality, the grand staircase. This wasn't merely a means to an upper floor, it was a testament to the castle's enduring power, a spiral of cold stone that had witnessed centuries of ascent and descent. During the day, it would have echoed with the heavy tread of knights, the light rustle of noble gowns, and the hurried patter of servants' feet. Now, it was utterly silent, each worn step holding the memory of countless journeys. The moonlight, finding its way through a high, narrow window at a turn in the stairs, cast intricate patterns on the stone, highlighting the subtle erosion of ages. The air here was still and cool, carrying the faint scent of ancient dust and the distant, almost imperceptible dampness of the castle's depths. One could imagine the slow, deliberate footsteps of a king retiring for the night, or a weary guard ascending for his watch, their silent presence lingering in the chill air. The very air seemed to hum with a low, inaudible resonance, a deep, ancient sigh of stone that had stood for centuries. The silence on the grand staircase was a spiral of quiet, deepening with each ascending turn, drawing the listener into a profound sense of stillness that mirrored the castle's slumbering heart. Each step, though unseen, held a palpable stillness, an unspoken history. Beyond the grandeur of the main living quarters, our silent path leads us to a less adorned but equally vital part of the castle, the barracks. Here, during the day, the air would have been thick with the boisterous camaraderie of soldiers, the clatter of weapons, and the rough jokes shared over a meal. Now, these long, unadorned halls were deserted, each rough-hewn wooden bunk empty and still. The air was cold and a little stale, carrying the faint, lingering scent of old leather, unwashed wool, and dormant iron. The silence in the barracks was a quiet echo of 100 sleeping men, a collective hush that descended when duty called for rest. Moonlight, if any found its way through the narrow slit windows, would paint long, stark lines across the wooden floorboards, illuminating the bareness of the space. One could almost hear the low, steady breaths of sleeping soldiers, the occasional soft snore, or the barely audible shift of straw on a pallet. But tonight, even these imagined sounds were absent. The silence was complete, a blank canvas upon which the imagination might paint the quiet routine of a soldier's life, far from the din of battle. Each bunk, a temporary resting place, held its own silent story of weary bodies and dreams of home, now folded away until the first light of dawn. The very emptiness of the space contributed to its overwhelming tranquility, a stark contrast to the lives that filled it during waking hours, yet equally peaceful in its stillness. The rough, unpolished wooden surfaces seemed to absorb all sound, contributing to the profound quiet that enveloped this essential part of the castle, a quiet that promised uninterrupted rest. Part 7. The stable's warmth and the forge's cold hearth. Our silent exploration now leads us to the castle stables, a place often bustling with activity during the day, but now settled into a gentle slumber. Here, the air was warmer than the cold stone corridors, carrying the comforting scent of hay, warm horseflesh, and dried leather. It was a lived-in warmth, a subtle comfort against the chilling night air outside the castle walls. Horses, once restless and eager for the day's journey, now stood or lay in their stalls, their massive forms barely visible in the near-total darkness. Their breathing was slow and deep, a rhythmic, gentle exhale that filled the space with a soft, comforting hum. You might hear a very faint, almost imperceptible shift of straw beneath a hoof, or the soft rustle of a horse turning its head. But these were not sounds of disturbance. They were the quiet affirmations of life resting peacefully. The wooden beams overhead, gnawed smooth by time and use, seemed to creak with a slow, ancient sigh, settling into the stillness of the night. Moonlight, if any, might filter through a high, grimy window, casting a faint, pale square onto the packed earth floor, briefly illuminating a single, motionless stable cat curled up in a sunbeam's ghost. The warmth within the stables felt like a small, beating heart within the vast, cold stone of the castle, a pocket of contented peace where even the animals had surrendered to the deep quiet of sleep. Leaving the gentle warmth and soft breathing of the stables, our path then leads us to the blacksmith's forge, a place of immense sound and fury during the day, but now held in a profound, almost eerie silence. The massive bellows, capable of roaring winds, stood deflated and still. The heavy hammers, which once rang with deafening blows against molten metal, lay silently on their anvils, cold and unmoving. The air here carried the sharp, metallic tang of cold iron, mixed with the faint, lingering scent of burnt charcoal and extinguished fire. The forge's hearth, once a fiery maw spitting sparks and light, was now a cold, dark cavity, filled only with the gray ashes of forgotten fires. No embers glowed, no heat radiated. The tools that lay scattered on the dirt floor, tongs, chisels, and files, were silent witnesses to the day's toil, now resting in the deep stillness of the night. The silence in the forge was heavy, a complete absence of the clamor that defined its waking hours. It was a stillness born from the exhaustion of labor, a quiet promise of rest, till the sun would rise again to awaken its fires. One might imagine the lingering echoes of distant hammer blows, softened by the night. But even those phantom sounds were too gentle to disturb the profound peace that had settled over this vital part of the castle, turning its once vibrant energy into a hushed and deep slumber. Part 8. The Great Hall's Empty Echoes and the Lord's Chamber. Our journey now leads us back to the heart of noble life within the castle, the Great Hall. This vast chamber, during daylight hours, would have been a vibrant hub of activity, feasts, courtly gatherings, and the clamor of daily life. Now it stretched out in the darkness, a cavernous space filled with a deep, echoing silence. The long, wooden tables, usually laden with food and crowded with guests, stood bare and polished, their surfaces reflecting the faint, almost imperceptible slivers of moonlight that managed to pierce the high, narrow windows. The immense fireplace at one end of the hall was a cold, dark maw. Its roaring flames, which once cast dancing shadows and provided warmth for countless revelers, were now extinguished. Only a bed of cold, gray ash remained, a silent testament to the vanished heat and merriment. The air was cool and still, carrying only the faint scent of stale smoke and ancient stone. The silence here was vast, a grand emptiness that swallowed any stray sound, making even a soft breath feel immense. You might almost hear the faint, lingering echoes of distant laughter, polite murmurs, or the clinking of goblets. But these are merely the quiet ghosts of memories, too faint to disturb the profound peace of the sleeping hall. From the great hall, we move towards the most private and protected space within the castle, the Lord's Chamber. This was the sanctum of the castle's ruler, a place of power, decision, and ultimately rest. Here, the air felt slightly warmer, a lingering warmth from a smaller, well-tended hearth. The heavy tapestries that adorned the walls, depicting hunting scenes or historical battles, were muted by the darkness, their vibrant colors subdued to shades of sepia and shadow. The chamber's silence was a personal one, a quiet that had absorbed the Lord's thoughts, his worries, and his prayers, before he finally surrendered to sleep. The large, four-poster bed, draped with heavy velvet curtains, was a dark, inviting mass in the center of the room. You can almost feel the softness of the furs and linens, promising a deep and uninterrupted rest. A single candle might have burned here, its flame now long extinguished, leaving only the faint scent of melted wax. The room holds the weight of responsibility, yet in its nightly slumber, even that weight is lifted, allowing for complete tranquility. The sounds outside, the wind whistling around the castle walls, the distant hoot of an owl, seem muffled and far away, unable to penetrate the thick stone and heavy hangings that cocoon this space in profound stillness. It is a chamber of ultimate quiet, where even the most powerful soul finds its peace in the arms of the night. Part 9. The Whispering Library and the Moonlit Battlements Beyond the Lord's Chamber. Perhaps through a hidden door concealed within a tapestry, lies the castle library. A room of profound quietude even during the day. At night its silence deepens into something almost sacred, filled with the collective hush of countless stored thoughts. The air here is still and cool, heavy with the ancient scent of aging parchment, dried leather, and the faint sweet perfume of long-forgotten pressed flowers perhaps tucked between pages. Tall, dark wooden shelves stretch from floor to ceiling, holding volumes bound in leather, some adorned with intricate clasps of brass or silver that glimmer faintly in the almost absolute darkness. Moonlight, finding its way through a single high-arched window, slices through the air, creating a pale, shimmering beam that illuminates motes of dust, dancing in a slow, timeless ballet. Each dust motes, caught in the ethereal light, seems to carry a tiny fragment of knowledge, a whisper from the past. The silence here is punctuated only by the occasional, almost imperceptible creak of ancient timber settling, or the soft rustle of a page gently turning, as if an unseen hand were turning a forgotten chronicle. One might feel a subtle, intriguing energy here, a quiet hum that emanates from the vast knowledge contained within these silent sentinels of history. What secrets are held within these brittle pages? What forgotten philosophies or lost spells lie dormant, waiting for a gentle touch to awaken them from their centuries-long slumber? The answers remain cloaked in the deep, undisturbed quiet of the night. Ascending then, higher still, perhaps through a narrow, winding spiral staircase rarely used, we reach the castle battlements. These are the very edge of the castle, the exposed teeth of stone that face the open sky. During the day, this would be a place of watchful vigilance, bustling with guards and archers. Now, under the vast moonlit expanse, they are utterly deserted, bathed in a stark, cold beauty. The wind, no longer merely whispering, sweeps across this exposed height, carrying with it the crisp scent of distant forests and frozen air. The silence here is immense and open, stretching out to the very horizon. It is a silence filled with the subtle roar of the wind, a deep, continuous breath from the sleeping world below. From this vantage point, the entire land lies spread out like a vast, dark tapestry, punctuated only by the faint, shimmering lines of distant rivers or the deeper shadows of unseen valleys. The stars above burn with an almost impossible brilliance in the clear, cold air, each one a tiny, distant sun in the endless void. One might lean against the rough stone of the parapet, feeling the coldness seep through their cloak, and simply gaze out at the vast, tranquil expanse. What forgotten events unfolded beneath this very sky? What ancient battles were fought? What solemn vows were made under these same silent stars? The battlements stand as silent sentinels, bearing witness to the relentless march of time, their cold stone absorbing the quiet tales of centuries, offering a profound sense of peace in their unyielding permanence. Part 10. The Gardens by Moonlight and the Echoes in the Well House. Our descent from the exposed battlements leads us back to the intricate piece of the castle gardens, now seen from a different perspective as the night has deepened further. The moonlight, now higher and brighter, paints the manicured pathways and hedges with a luminous glow, turning the familiar shapes into ethereal forms. The air here is still and cool, carrying the subtle, sweet fragrance of night-blooming jasmine and the damp, earthy scent of the soil. Each dewdrop clinging to a leaf or a petal sparkles like a tiny frozen star, reflecting the vastness of the sky above in miniature. The silence in the gardens is a soft, breathing quiet, occasionally punctuated by the gentle rustle of a single leaf or the almost imperceptible drip of water from an unseen plant. The winding paths, usually trod by day, lie empty, inviting the imagination to wander without haste. One can almost feel the gentle presence of centuries of careful cultivation, the quiet dedication of gardeners long past, whose efforts shaped this peaceful haven. What secret conversations unfolded on these benches? What quiet strolls brought solace under these very trees? The gardens hold these memories in their very stillness, offering a profound sense of continuity and gentle calm to those who simply observe. The subtle interplay of light and shadow dancing across the foliage creates a mesmerizing hypnotic pattern that encourages the eyes to soften and the mind to still. Our final silent destination within the castle's embrace is the well house, often overlooked but vital to daily life. This small stone structure, usually resounding with the clatter of buckets and the murmur of conversations, is now cloaked in its own profound, cool silence. The air within is damp and fresh, carrying the clean, earthy scent of deep water and ancient stone. The darkness inside is almost absolute, broken only by a faint, ghostly reflection of moonlight, if any, manages to filter through the narrow opening. The well itself, a dark, deep circle disappearing into the earth, holds the stillness of ancient waters. You can almost hear the faint, distant echo of a bucket descending, or the quiet splash as it hits the unseen surface far below. But tonight there is no sound, save for the very faint, rhythmic drip of water, a single, solitary drop falling from a high, unseen point, breaking the profound silence with its consistent, almost meditative plink. This soft, repetitive sound is a gentle rhythm in the overwhelming quiet, a timeless pulse that speaks of the castle's hidden lifeblood. The well house, humble in its appearance, holds a profound mystery in its depths, a connection to the very earth beneath the castle, offering a deeply grounding and peaceful stillness that invites the mind to drift. It is a place of deep, ancient quiet, where the simple necessities of life meet the profound calm of the sleeping world, beckoning the listener into an equally profound slumber. Part 11. The stable courtyard and the whispers of ancient trees. From the quiet, damp coolness of the well house, our senses now guide us to the castle's larger stable courtyard, distinct from the inner stables we explored earlier. This vast open area, typically a bustling scene of horses being saddled, carts being loaded, and stable hands shouting orders, now lies utterly motionless under the vast, star-peppered sky. The ground here, usually trampled and dusty, seems almost smooth in the low light, its surface absorbing the faintest whispers of sound. The air is sharper here, carrying the faint, clean scent of hay from the distant haylofts, mingled with the earthy aroma of damp straw and the subtle, wild fragrance of the night wind. The silence that stretches across this wide courtyard is profound, an expansive quiet that allows the imagination to drift effortlessly across its vastness. The dark, imposing shapes of the stable buildings form a solid perimeter, their wooden doors shut tight, guarding the slumbering animals within. Perhaps a stray, gentle breeze rustles the dry leaves of a solitary, ancient oak tree standing at the courtyard's edge, creating a soft, almost melodic whisper that blends seamlessly with the deeper silence. One might almost hear the distant, barely perceptible snort of a sleeping horse from within the wooden stalls, a quiet, rhythmic breath that assures all is well in the night. The stillness here is a tranquil echo of countless journeys begun and ended, a peaceful pause before the dawn brings new activity. Beyond the stable courtyard, The castle's grounds give way to the wilder embrace of the ancient trees that surround its perimeter. These are not merely trees, they are silent, colossal witnesses, their gnarled branches and deep roots having seen centuries unfold. Tonight, under the vast moonless sky, they stand as dark, watchful sentinels, their immense forms absorbing all sound, creating a profound pocket of natural quiet. The air beneath their canopy is cooler, deeper, carrying the rich, earthy scent of ancient soil, damp moss, and the subtle, sweet aroma of decaying leaves. The silence beneath these colossal trees is dense, almost tangible, as if the very air has become heavy with the weight of ages. No light penetrates here, save for the occasional, fleeting gleam of a distant star peeking through a gap in the thick canopy. One can almost feel the slow, methodical growth of these ancient giants, their roots pushing deeper into the earth, their branches reaching higher towards the sky, all in a quiet, unhurried rhythm. The only sound, if any, might be the gentle, almost imperceptible fall of a single leaf, landing softly on the mossy ground, its whisper swallowed almost instantly by the overwhelming quietude. These trees hold countless secrets within their silent embrace, tales of forgotten creatures that once roamed here, whispered words of lovers long gone, or the solemn plans of knights resting beneath their shade. Tonight they simply stand, breathing the slow, deep breaths of the earth, inviting all who might imagine them to join their timeless slumber. Part 12. The river's gentle flow and the sleeping village beyond. From the deep ancient quiet of the surrounding woods, our imagination now gently drifts to the river's edge, where the castle's lifeblood, a wide, slow-moving river, continues its ceaseless journey. This river, which during the day would have carried the sounds of fishing boats, children playing, and the chatter of washerwomen, now flows in profound silence. The water's surface, dark and smooth under the faint starlight, reflects the vast inky sky like a colossal moving mirror. The air here is cool and moist, carrying the clean scent of fresh water and damp earth. The silence along the river's banks is a fluid quiet, a gentle hush composed of the soft, continuous murmur of the water itself. This steady rhythmic sound, a quiet shush, shush, as the current glides over unseen stones and rushes past the reedy banks, is deeply hypnotic and incredibly soothing. It is the very pulse of the landscape, a timeless sound that has echoed through countless nights, long before the castle's stones were laid. One might almost feel the soft brush of an unseen fish disturbing the surface, or the gentle ripple of a water vole making its way through the reeds. But these are mere whispers, absorbed into the greater symphony of the river's quiet flow, a lullaby that has comforted generations. The trees along the bank, their roots clinging stubbornly to the earth, lean over the water, their dark silhouettes merging with the deeper shadows, providing a curtain of privacy for the river's nightly journey. Beyond the river, stretching into the unseen distance, lies the sleeping village that serves the castle. This collection of humble cottages, barns, and simple workshops, usually alive with the sounds of daily toil and community life, is now utterly silent. No dogs bark, no chickens stir, no human voices echo from within the small, dark dwellings. Each thatched roof, each wooden door, is a quiet guardian of the deep slumber that has embraced its inhabitants. The air here is still and cold, carrying the faint, homely scent of wood smoke from long-extinguished hearths, mixed with the subtle aroma of drying herbs and sleeping livestock. The silence in the village is a shared quiet, a collective breath held by a community in profound rest. A few tiny pinpricks of light might glimmer from an occasional window, perhaps a forgotten candle, but mostly darkness reigns, deep and encompassing. One can almost feel the low, steady breaths of 100 sleeping villagers, their minds adrift in dreams, their bodies surrendered to the night's demands. The narrow pathways between the cottages, usually muddy and well-trodden, now lie undisturbed, waiting patiently for the first light of dawn to awaken them. It is a place of simple peace, of shared rest, where the rhythm of life slows to an almost imperceptible hum, preparing for another day's quiet toil under the castle's enduring watch. The very presence of so many sleeping lives, so close yet so completely quiet, weaves a profound tapestry of peace, inviting the listener to join their collective slumber. Part 13. The whispers of distant roads and the far horizon. Beyond the sleeping village, our silent gaze extends further to the distant roads that crisscross the land, connecting this secluded castle to the wider medieval world. During the day, these roads would carry the sounds of creaking cartwheels, the steady clopping of horse hooves, and the murmurs of travelers. Now, under the vast, star-dusted canopy of night, they lie utterly silent, long, dark ribbons stretching into the unknown. The air here is crisp and cold, carrying only the vast, empty whisper of the night wind, sweeping across open fields and unseen valleys. The silence on these roads is an expansive quiet, a waiting stillness that speaks of journeys paused and destinations yet to be reached. No footsteps disturb the packed earth. No distant voices break the profound hush. One might imagine a lone traveler long ago, hurrying through this darkness, or a small band of merchants cautiously making their way. But tonight, even these echoes are gone, leaving only the untouched quiet of the long path. The subtle variations in the terrain, the faint outlines of distant hedgerows or ancient markers along the roadside are barely discernible in the faint light, contributing to the feeling of endless, quiet expanse. This silence holds the memory of countless footsteps, countless stories, now all merged into the single, encompassing stillness of the dark road. Finally, our journey through the medieval night leads us to the very edge of perception, the far horizon. Here, where the dark earth meets the even darker sky, the world seems to dissolve into an infinite calm. There are no distinct features, no specific sounds, just the subtle interplay of shadow and the profound vastness of the unseen. The air here is cold and pure, carrying the essence of deep night and untouched wilderness. The silence at the horizon is the most profound of all, a universal quiet that transcends any single location or time. It is the stillness of the sleeping world, the gentle hush of the turning planet. Above, the stars continue their silent, ancient dance, each a distant, peaceful beacon in the immense void. Below, the earth rests, absorbing the quiet energy of the cosmos. There is nothing to disturb this ultimate peace. No thought, no sound, no light, save for the faint, steady pulse of the universe itself. It's a place where all worries, all anxieties simply cease to exist, dissolving into the boundless calm. One might feel a sense of profound detachment here, a gentle letting go of all earthly concerns, becoming one with the vast, sleeping expanse of time and space. It is the ultimate invitation to surrender to sleep, a journey into the deepest quiet, where only dreams reside. Part 14. The slow approach of dawn and the castle's final slumber. As the night stretches towards its very end, an almost imperceptible shift begins to occur on the far horizon. The inky black of the sky, though still dominant, subtly softens. A faint, almost ghost-like hint of gray, then a whisper of deep blue begins to bleed into the eastern sky, signaling the very first, shy breath of dawn. This change is not sudden. It is a gradual, patient transformation, an incredibly slow and gentle awakening that respects the profound slumber of the world below. The stars, which moments ago burned with such brilliance, begin to dim ever so slightly, reluctantly ceding their dominance to the approaching light. The silence, though still deep, takes on a new quality. It's no longer the absolute silence of midnight, but a waiting quiet, filled with a subtle anticipation. One might imagine the first, barely audible stirrings of distant creatures, a faint rustle in the woods, a very soft murmur from a bird, sounds so gentle they merely ripple the surface of the stillness without truly breaking it. The cool air remains, but it feels fresher, carrying the promise of a new day, yet still perfectly conducive to the deepest sleep. The castle, still shrouded in darkness, seems to be holding its breath, its ancient stones absorbing the very last moments of profound night before the sun returns. It is a moment of perfect transition, suspended between the deep rest that was and the gentle waking that is to come. Part 15. The Promise of Light and the Embrace of Deep Sleep. Finally, the promise of light grows stronger. The gray blue in the east expands, softening the edges of the horizon. A faint, ethereal glow, a gentle blush of pale orange and rose, begins to color the very edge of the world, painting the distant clouds with soft, inviting hues. The last, stubborn stars recede into the vastness, their silent vigil complete. The air, though still cool, is now undeniably fresh, carrying the clean scent of a new beginning. The silence now is the silence of profound peace, the quiet that comes after a long, undisturbed night of rest. The castle, still a majestic silhouette against the brightening sky, seems to breathe a final deep sigh of contentment. Its ancient stones have held their secrets, witnessed the passage of the night, and now, as the world prepares to stir, they offer their last gentle invitation to surrender. For you, the listener, this is the moment of final, absolute release. The subtle light that begins to touch the very edges of your awareness is not a call to awaken, but a final reassurance, a gentle embrace. Your thoughts, long ago dissolved into the tranquil flow of the narrative, have been replaced by a pervasive sense of calm, a comforting weight that settles softly upon you. Allow yourself to feel this final, profound peace. Imagine the cool, fresh air of the medieval dawn on your face, the gentle warmth beginning to spread across the land. Your journey through the silent castle is complete. All worries, all anxieties have faded into the timeless night. You are held in the embrace of deep, undisturbed sleep, a sleep as old and as peaceful as the very stones of the castle, as endless as the starry sky above. Let your breath be soft and regular, your mind utterly at rest. I believe, my dear listener, you have long since drifted off. May your dreams be filled with gentle whispers of history and the profound peace of a tranquil night. Good night.